Story 1 Original post. Am I the a-hole for not waking my partner up and causing him to miss a family trip? My, 26 female, and my partner, 28 male, have 5 daughters, 7, 6, 4, 3, and 5 months. For a long time there's been an issue with him getting up to help with the kids of a morning. He thinks he should be able to sleep in on his days off work, while I think he should get up when the kids and I do, or we should at least be alternating who lies in a bit. We've been seeing a therapist who has mentioned he should be helping more in the mornings. Recently we had a family trip planned to the zoo with both of our parents, our sisters, and their kids. Previously when we've gone out for the day I've needed to shake my partner awake several times, and he lies in bed while I get the kids ready. He'll finally get up 5 minutes before we leave as I shout at him I'm getting in the car. I've mentioned to him that this is very frustrating as it's a lot of work getting the kids ready to go out, and it's not fair to leave it up to me while he lies on bed. He'd apologize and promise that the next time he'd get up and help. The night before the trip I told him I'd need him to be awake at 6:30 a.m, so we could get everyone ready to leave by 8 a.m. He said he'd set an alarm and we went to bed. My alarm went off at 6:30 a.m. and I got up, while my partner kept sleeping. I decided I wasn't going to wake him this time and continued getting the kids ready. At 8 a.m. he was still sleeping, so I loaded the kids in the car and we set off. We arrived at the zoo at 9:30 a.m, and his family asked where he was. I mentioned he was still in bed and chose not to come. At 10:15 a.m. I got a phone call from him asking where everyone was. I said we went to the zoo as planned, and I waited for him to get up but he never did. He got really mad and told me that I should have woken him up like I always do, and I caused him to miss the trip. He then called his mum and complained to her, who yelled at me in the middle of the zoo that I was being unfair and I should have given him a shake to let him know he needed to get up, and that I was about to leave. My mother jumped in and said it wasn't my responsibility to get him out of bed, and he needed to take responsibility for himself. A few more words were exchanged and his family stalked off for the rest of the trip. I had a blast with my kids, parents, sister, and my nephews. When we got home my partner started on me again about how I should have woken him up. So am I the a-hole so not waking him up and going without him? A few things have come up I want to clarify. He wasn't always like this. When the oldest 2 were little he was always up with them. He even get up before anyone else to cook breakfast before going off to work. We had to move in with his parents at one point and that's where things started to change. His family are incredibly misogynistic. Dad works then comes home, watches TV, and drink beer while his mum does everything else, including getting him up for work etc. These beliefs seems to have rubbed off on him, and his mum is very quick to tell him something is the woman's job. He's seeing a therapist independently who has suggested some form of depression. He's generally pretty good otherwise. He will help with dinner, cleaning, putting the kids to bed etc. He's not entirely useless. Getting out of bed in the morning is a long-standing issue though. He has a vasectomy after baby number 4, which turned out to be incomplete. I had a hysterectomy. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. I taught my daughter that she was responsible for getting herself up for high school, and if she missed the bus I wasn't going to drive her. She never missed the bus. Heh. My parents taught me a similar lesson, only I did miss the bus, once. Not the a-hole. Your husband takes you for granted. He has no intention of helping you and knows you'll always take care of the kids. He seems to think parenting has a day off when it never really does and he has to share responsibility. He is clearly encouraged by his mother. Her yelling at you instead of him shows me she's the type to excuse his behavior and let her poor son rest and leave it to the wife. Be firm with him. Do not apologize and make sure you set rules in the future where either you both wake up or take turns or else him missing out will continue in the future and you're done waking him up for his kids. Women being expected to wake their husbands is a problem common enough that we get like a post a week about it here. The answer is always the same. Raise your kids, not your husband. Also, whenever a man feels the need to run to his mummy when his wife isn't coddling him, there's a problem in the marriage that needs focus. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You get yourself and 5 children up and out of the house without this asshole bothering to get himself up and out? His mom's enabling is what got him here doing nothing for 7+ years, but you owe it to yourself and your daughters to stop raising him. He needs to sort himself out as soon as possible and get himself into intensive therapy to figure out how he's so ridiculously incompetent as an adult and parent. Not the a-hole. But isn't your day off too? You have 5 daughters, you need help. He isn't helping you. It feel like you're a single parent in the morning. I wouldn't wish you that. Not the a-hole. Your partner needs to be helping with more of the work of parenting your kids, and not just the fun parts. I would be going out of my mind if I were you, watching someone who got 5 kids on me lie in bed while I dressed, fed, and redded them for an outing. His mom was being ridiculous, and she is probably a big reason why he is the way he is. Just out of curiosity, he's always been like this, right? Like even when there were 1 or 2 kids, same behavior? I would think so, but then again I can't imagine being willing to reproduce more children with someone like that. So if it's a sudden change, maybe he is burnt out at work or something. Which isn't an excuse to not help the mother of his children, I'm just trying to get a better read on the situation. For the love of everything that is Holly, you're not expecting him to do you a favor. You're asking him to parent his children. I don't think therapy isn't working, and the fact he felt the need to tell his mommy on you is just pitiful. Not the a-hole. Update. After posting this, I received messages expressing concern and advice, so I thought I'd update about how things turned out. The morning after this incident, my partner got out of bed when the kids did and took the older girls out for breakfast. Later I asked him if he'd be willing to read the thread, and he agreed. He was very subdued afterwards, and didn't say much except for agreeing that he was an a-hole. The next day he took off work and saw his general practitioner, started on antidepressants, and we had a long talk. He was ashamed by how he was acting and to see strangers comparing him to children. He cried when realized how much he was letting everyone down, especially his daughters who will grow up thinking this is normal behavior. He confirmed that this all started when we lived with his parents a few years back. He left home at 17 to get away from his mother, and she told him he'd fail as men need a woman to look after them. He felt like a failure, so it was easy for his mother to feed him other ideas, and she would also manipulate things I did to look like he was incompetent as a person, e.g. I'd tell him to relax and I'd handle the dishes, and his mother twisted it into me thinking he was incompetent, so he should just stop helping at all. He'd wake up feeling useless, and she managed to convince him that he was unhappy because I wasn't taking care of him the way a wife should. He decided to got no contact with her, which didn't go well. She cried and told him he was a horrible son for abandoning his mother, and that I was trying to control him by forcing him to do it. He blocked her, but she just used different numbers to continue calling him. After a week or so he ended up changing his number, and we haven't heard from his family since. He brought up that he was unhappy at work as it wasn't stimulating enough, but he felt like he couldn't leave. I offered to pick up some part-time work, but he said no. He talked to his boss and took some time off, and eventually quit. He spoke to my dad, who used some connections and got him a good job at his company. The new job is a primarily work-from-home position, so he is able to help with the girls more and has more free time. He is able to take the girls to school and watch them play while he works, which they all enjoy. Before he started the new job, he booked a trip for us to go to the snow for a week. We had a blast, and it was lovely to see him relaxed and happy and enjoying our girls and life. He's promised to be more honest about how he's feeling, and our relationship has improved immensely. Thank you for everyone who gave judgment and advice, as he says it really helped him see things more clearly, especially the toxic relationship with his mother. Now for the comments. He sounds like a keeper messed up, realized it, made concrete steps to make it better. If this isn't the best I the a-hole update, I don't know what is. Yes. In reading the edits to her other posts, it seems like he used to help more, but it's been a recent change. Sometimes people just need a reality check and not a divorce. He was really good until about 5 years ago. He was the person who set the bar for other people to surpass. He started slipping when his mother got back into his head and got caught in a downward spiral. He says he was lost but didn't know how to get out of it. It became me versus his mum, and his mum had been working him since he was born, so just had more power. He couldn't excuse the opinions of strangers, though, the majority of which were against him. This forum breaks my heart on a daily basis, so seeing something truly good and healthy unfold from the advice given here has rekindled my faith in humanity. Thank you for sharing this update, and thank you to everyone in this community. Wanted to second that. I'm genuinely so glad to see something healthy and good come out of this. To OP, thanks for the update. I know I'm just a random stranger on the internet, but please take my hugs. I am proud of both you and your hubby for putting in the hard work and doing the needful, making positive changes, and bettering your lives for yourselves and your kiddos. Sometimes strangers give the best perspectives because they are, usually, neutral. Some people gave very in-depth responses and put into words what he was feeling, he just didn't realize it. Please let your hubby know this internet stranger is proud of him for making changes to become the person he was meant to be, the person his mother tried to squash down. Agreed. The measure of a person isn't how close they are to perfection, but how they learn from their mistakes and strive to be better. Everyone's always quick to tell people to break up in this forum. It's so nice to see that you worked it out, together, built communication and something good came from it. I'm very proud of him. And you? Seeing people recommending to leave and hearing of people who did separate over similar issues kicked him up the butt a bit. He loves his kids and doesn't want to lose us. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for tearing down my half-sister when she asked me why I couldn't have saved my mom's name for her to use for a future daughter? I, 27 female, gave birth to my first child a month ago. My husband and I named her after my late mom and a favorite name of ours for her middle name. My mom died 10 years ago and using her name was always something I wanted to do. When my half-sister, 24 female, first heard the name she got a little pouty and asked me why I didn't see if she wanted to use the name instead, and she said she had always imagined giving her first daughter my mom's, not her mom, name. I told her I had always intended to use my mom's name and my half-sister said my mom was basically the closest person she ever had to a mom and how she was always so sweet and accepting of her and she felt like it could have been a nice way for her to show respect and to show us she appreciated it. She said I didn't need to use it. I said I'm my mom's daughter so of course I'd get to use it. My half-sister said we were all a family and I emphasized in response that I was mom's only child. My half-sister said it might be true but she accepted her into the family as well. And this is where I might be the a-hole because I told her that was not true. I told her my mom hardly had a thing to do with her. She wanted nothing to do with her but never felt good about taking out issues on kids so she tried to be kind when she couldn't avoid her but she absolutely did not love and accept her and I told her to get real thinking the woman who was cheated on would love and accept the child that came from the affair. I told her she shouldn't be trying to imply she had more of a right to my mom's name than I do when she was nothing to my mom and her child wouldn't be either. She left in tears. The background is already maybe clear. But my parents were married and had me. Mom found out dad cheated on her and got his other woman pregnant and divorced him. She had primary custody of me. My dad ended up with sole custody of my half-sister. My dad made every effort to still be in my life and he always brought my half-sister when he'd show up to support me. My mom hated it. She never said that to me. But a couple of times I heard her talking to my aunt or my grandma about how much she despised seeing my half-sister there and how she knew it was an awful thing to say but that my half-sister reaching out for her like she would whenever dad brought her was tough. I also heard her talk about dad inviting her to be active in my half-sister's life and she declined. She said she could suck it up and not be mean to her face but she did not want to be around her more than she needed to be. Over the years my half-sister did try to spend more time with my mom. Whether it was packing to come with me when I was going home to mom, or her rushing out the door when mom would pick me up so she could try hug and talk to her. My half-sister always made a beeline for mom when she'd see her. My mom wasn't really that warm to her but my half-sister always seemed to ignore it. I remember when mom died and my family and I had a private cremation for mom and my half-sister was so upset she couldn't come and my dad and I stopped speaking after that because he told me I should have made sure my half-sister could be there. He never discouraged my half-sister pining for mom even though I know mom told him she did not want a relationship with my half-sister. Anyway, since my half-sister ran out crying she has texted me and told me I was cruel and that I didn't need to crush her hope that my mom had loved her and that she'd been wanted by at least one female figure in her life. She said I never wanted to be with her and dad and then I never wanted her with me and mom either. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Your father on the other hand screwed up and keeps screwing up to this day. He put that crap in her head and keeps reinforcing it. Your sister was 14 when your mom died and has made up a relationship that didn't exist in her head. She needs therapy. She has serious abandonment issues and instead of getting her help your father made everything worse. She is the a-hole today because she needs to get herself help as adult. Her thinking that she had more rights to your mother's name is unhinged. Even if she was your mother's daughter, she doesn't know if she will ever get pregnant or have a daughter. This. OP, you're not the a-hole but your dad sure is. Your half-sister, she just needs therapy. Not the a-hole. Wow, your half-sister is projecting hard. She may have idolized your mom in her head, but that doesn't change the reality of the situation. Your mom didn't want a relationship with her because of the circumstances, and that's not your fault to sugarcoat or fix. Honestly, she put you in an awkward position by even asking for your mom's name for her hypothetical kid. You have every right to honor your mom how you see fit, which is she was your mom period. My half-sister, not my mom's, did name her daughter a variation of my mom's name. It's weird to us all. They never had a relationship, she just saw her a handful of times over the years. My mom to this day is nice to her but that's it. Not the a-hole OP. Your sister like mine needs counseling. It's sad that her own mom wasn't around but she didn't have yours either. Your dad is the a-hole here 100% for not stopping this. You're not the a-hole about the name thing. However, the mom issue could have been handled better, especially since you knew she loved your mom. Your mom put a lot of effort into at least making sure she wasn't mistreated, and to your half-sis, that was love. Now all of that has been undone and a world turned upside down over what? A sharp conversation that would have been forgotten a month from now? That needs a little retrospect. Yes, it's the truth. But the problem with being brutally honest is that people tend to lean on the brutal part more. Some very heartless replies here. This poor woman was born into a horrible situation through no fault of her own. And the only thing she was guilty of was trying to show love. She couldn't even go to the funeral of someone she loved. Because of something about herself she had no chance of changing. Was her reaction weird? Yes, but it doesn't sound like she's done anything else wrong, so it's not hard to conclude her unusually selfish behavior is as a result of having been messed up. And the response is to remove any shred of positivity she holds onto, to take away her sense of family and connection. Why? You've already got everything that she doesn't. It's not like you couldn't have just told her you were first. It just seems like you wish she'd never been there, complicating your life and laying claim to your mother, and this was the opportunity to finally try to rip her emotional connection apart. I feel like I'm on crack reading all these replies saying not the a-hole painting the half-sister as some villain. This was a vast overreaction and a cruel rant just because half-sister was being annoying pushy about the name. This is just plain cruel. I think others have said it best. You didn't have to tear her down. It would have been enough to say that she was your mother, you had a daughter and you named that daughter after your mother. She was not your sister's mother, and so you did not owe her the courtesy of giving her first pick, however kind your mother was to her. You could also have been kind and say, I know my mother tried to never blame you for my father's infidelity, followed by, but that doesn't give you the rights to her name above me, even if you did love her. Lots of people loved her, but I didn't ask any of them, either. And then disengage. I won't discuss this any further. I won't apologize for naming my child after my mother. And leave and reduce contact if she won't stop trying to get you to admit you did anything wrong, because you didn't.
Thank you for listening. If you like the video, consider like and subscribe. If you want more stories like these, turn on your notification to receive the latest stories.